Maid's daughter promised to help a billionaire's mother walk. Doctors watched in disbelief. Hello everyone. Before we begin today's story, I have a small favor to ask. Please hit subscribe and turn on the notification bell so you never miss our channel's new videos. It's quick, free, and the best way to support us in bringing you more dramatic stories. Your support means the world to us. Where are you watching from? Drop your city or country in the comments below. Thank you very much. Now let's dive into the story. There are moments in life when the impossible becomes possible, when hope shines through even in the darkest hours. This is one of those moments. It all started with a promise made by a young girl with no reason to be seen or heard, but who, in that moment, was about to change everything. The mansion stood tall on the hill, a fortress of marble and glass, overlooking the city below. Inside, the air was thick with power and wealth. Rich velvet curtains draped over windows, and chandeliers hung like crystals from the heavens. It was a world of perfection, yet the sadness in the room was undeniable. The billionaire patriarch sat at the head of the table, his sharp eyes filled with frustration. His mother, once a vibrant woman full of life, now lay motionless, confined to a wheelchair. She had been diagnosed with a debilitating condition, and despite the best doctors and state-of-the-art treatment, she hadn't walked in years. The best specialists in the country had all said the same thing. There was no hope. The doctors could do nothing more for her. And yet, in this room filled with the world's finest minds, one voice dared to speak up. It was a small, soft voice from a corner of the room where no one had expected to hear anything remarkable. It belonged to a girl, no more than 14, the daughter of the maid. She had been cleaning the mansion all day, invisible to the powerful people who walked in and out. But when she spoke, everyone stopped. "I can help her walk," she said, her voice clear but quiet. At first, no one took her seriously. How could they? She was just the maid's daughter, a girl with no medical training, no background in science, no reason to be in a room where life-changing decisions were being made. The billionaire glanced at her, dismissing her words with a scoff. The doctors exchanged looks of disbelief. But she wasn't deterred. She had seen things that others hadn't. She had learned from her grandmother, an old healer who had taught her the power of hands, the strength of patience, and the healing touch of love. "I can help her walk," the girl repeated, her eyes unwavering. The billionaire looked at her, his expression unreadable. For a moment, the room was silent, as if the weight of his doubt had filled every corner of the mansion. But there was something about this girl's confidence that made him hesitate. Maybe it was the purity in her eyes, or maybe it was the desperate hope that even a man like him could not ignore. With a sigh, he nodded, a simple gesture that would set the wheels in motion. The doctors watched in silence as the girl approached his mother. They had seen it all, or so they thought. But what happened next would leave them all speechless. She gently placed her hands on the woman's legs, her touch light, yet filled with purpose. The billionaire's mother had no reaction at first. Her body, so used to being still, resisted the gentle movements. But the girl didn't give up. She whispered something soft, something only the woman could hear. The room felt even quieter, and for the first time in years, there was a glimmer of something in the air. The doctors watched, uncertain of what they were witnessing. Could it be? Was it possible? This was no miracle cure. It was something else. It was hope. Mornings passed in a flurry of quiet work and hopeful tension. Each day, the girl returned to the mansion, her hands now used not only for cleaning but for healing. As the days went on, the progress was slow but undeniable. The mother of the billionaire, once a frail and immobile woman, now felt the faintest stirrings of movement in her legs. The girl worked diligently, her touch gentle but sure, whispering words of encouragement, drawing from the teachings of her grandmother, who had once healed with nothing but her hands and a deep understanding of the human spirit. Every day, the billionaire watched from the side, his expression shifting from disbelief to cautious hope. He had seen doctors and experts come and go, each one more certain than the last that his mother's condition was permanent. But this was different. He couldn't explain it, but there was something in the girl's approach that seemed to transcend the clinical treatments his mother had undergone. The girl had no medical degree, no fancy equipment, yet she seemed to be doing the impossible. And each time he saw his mother respond, no matter how small the improvement, it felt like a miracle was unfolding before his eyes. One morning, After several weeks of steady progress, something extraordinary happened. The girl, with the same quiet determination, gently helped the woman to her feet. The mother's legs trembled, uncertain, as if they had forgotten how to bear weight. The girl held her steady, her hands firmly supporting the woman's frail form. Then, after a moment of silence that stretched for what felt like eternity, the woman took a tentative step, then another, and then, to the astonishment of everyone in the room, she walked. Slowly, cautiously at first, but she walked. The room erupted in stunned silence. The doctors, who had all but written off any possibility of recovery, could only stare in disbelief. The girl stood beside the woman, her face calm, but with a spark of quiet pride in her eyes. The billionaire, standing at the edge of the room, felt his heart race. He had witnessed something unimaginable, something that no doctor or scientist could explain. His mother, once a prisoner of her own body, was now walking again. It was more than just a physical recovery. It was a restoration of hope, of life, of possibility. As the woman took her final steps across the room, the billionaire rushed to her side, tears welling up in his eyes. He looked at the girl, whose simple promise had turned into a reality beyond anything he had ever imagined. "How did you do it?" he asked, his voice thick with emotion. The girl simply smiled, her answer soft and humble. "Sometimes, all you need is a little faith, and someone who believes in you." The billionaire felt a lump form in his throat. He had spent his entire life building an empire, but in that moment, he realized that the true power was not in wealth, not in status, but in the ability to change lives with kindness and belief. As the days passed, the mother continued to improve, walking further with each passing day. The billionaire, forever changed by the miracle he had witnessed, made a decision that would alter the course of the girl's life forever. He promised her the education and opportunities she had always dreamed of. She would no longer be invisible, no longer just a maid's daughter. She had proven that anything was possible with a little faith, and now he would make sure she had the chance to prove even more. Mornings had turned into weeks, and each day brought more progress, more breakthroughs. The girl, once just the maid's daughter, had transformed into something far more than anyone could have imagined. Her quiet presence had become a source of strength in the mansion, and as the days went by, the mother of the billionaire continued to walk with more confidence, her steps becoming steadier, more assured. The billionaire watched, still in awe of the miracle unfolding before him. He had been wealthy, powerful, but in those moments, he realized how little he truly understood about life, about what really mattered. He had seen his mother's health deteriorate over the years, felt helpless as doctors came and went with their predictions, their diagnoses. But here was this girl, who had no medical training, no advanced equipment, and yet she had done what they all thought impossible. One day, as he stood beside his mother, watching her take yet another step, he turned to the girl. "What else can you do?" he asked, his voice filled with wonder. The girl paused, looking at him with a calm that seemed to echo the peace in the room. "I can do much more," she replied softly. "But sometimes, it takes time." He nodded, unsure of what more there was to be done, but trusting her. The girl, now a symbol of hope in their lives, had a quiet strength that spoke volumes. Weeks passed, and the billionaire decided it was time to act on the promise he had made. He couldn't let this girl slip into the background again. She had already changed his family's life in ways no money could buy, and now it was his turn to give back. The girl had proven herself worthy of much more than just gratitude. He called her into his office one afternoon, the doors closing softly behind her as she entered. "I want to offer you something," he said, his voice steady. "I know you never asked for anything, but you've given us more than we could ever repay. I want to make sure you never have to worry about your future. I'll cover your education, your training, anything you need to pursue your dreams. You deserve the chance to show the world what you're truly capable of." The girl's eyes widened, a mix of surprise and disbelief crossing her face. "But I'm just a maid's daughter," she whispered. The billionaire smiled, shaking his head. "You're more than that. You're a miracle worker, and you deserve a chance to go beyond these walls." She stood there for a moment, processing his words. Her life had been one of hard work, of staying in the background, of being overlooked by so many. But now, for the first time, she felt seen. She had done the impossible, and someone believed in her. "Thank you," she finally said, her voice barely a whisper. I don't know how to thank you. He smiled warmly, stepping forward. You've already done enough. You've shown me what's truly important. From that moment on, the girl's life changed forever. She was no longer just the maid's daughter. She was someone with a future that was hers to shape. The billionaire kept his promise, ensuring she received the best education, the best training, and all the support she needed. And in return, she gave him something no amount of wealth could ever buy: the knowledge that the human spirit, the will to help others, was the most powerful force of all. The girl's life had changed in ways she never imagined. She was no longer just a shadow in the mansion, cleaning behind the scenes. Now, she was someone who had the world at her feet, with a future full of possibilities. The billionaire kept his word, ensuring she had everything she needed to build her future. She started attending classes at the best schools, her days filled with new knowledge and new opportunities. With each passing day, she grew more confident, more certain of the path ahead of her. But her journey wasn't just about education. It was about proving to herself and to the world that she was more than just a maid's daughter. She was a force to be reckoned with. The billionaire, now a silent supporter, watched from the sidelines as she blossomed. He had done what he could to give her the tools to succeed, but the rest was up to her. As she navigated the world of academia, she faced challenges, ones she had never encountered before. She felt out of place at times, sitting in classrooms with children from wealthy families, children who had grown up with privilege, not hardship. Yet, she never let it show. She carried herself with grace, with quiet determination. She knew she didn't belong in the shadows anymore. One afternoon, after months of hard work, the girl stood before the billionaire in his office. She was different now, older, more mature, and brimming with potential. I've learned a lot, she said, her voice steady. But I need more. I want to help others, just like I helped your mother. The billionaire looked at her, a hint of pride in his eyes. And you will. I believe in you. He leaned back in his chair, thinking for a moment before speaking again. There's one thing I never told you. When you helped my mother walk again, you didn't just change her life. You changed mine, too. The girl blinked in surprise. She had never thought about it that way. How, she asked. Because I realized, the billionaire continued, his voice softening, that life is about more than just wealth and power. It's about giving people a chance, about believing in them when no one else does. The girl smiled, feeling a warmth in her chest. She had always believed in the power of kindness, in the strength of helping others. But hearing those words from someone who had everything, a billionaire, was a different kind of validation. The girl's eyes sparkled with determination. I'm going to make a difference, she said. I'm going to help people, just like you helped me. The billionaire nodded, his face serious. I know you will. Months passed, and the girl, now a young woman, began working in the medical field. She dedicated her life to helping others, using the knowledge she had gained to bring healing and hope to those in need. She never forgot the lesson she had learned from the billionaire, and she passed it on to others. As for the billionaire, he often thought back to the day when the girl had walked into his office and made her promise. He had given her the world, but in return, she had given him something priceless, her unwavering belief in the goodness of the human spirit. And in the end, that was the greatest gift of all. Years passed, and the girl, now a young woman, had fully embraced her new life. She had achieved the education she once dreamed of, working tirelessly to fulfill her promise to herself. She had become a medical professional, known for her deep empathy, her knowledge, and her commitment to helping those in need. The skills she learned in school, combined with her natural gift of healing, made her a respected figure in her field. But despite her success, she had never forgotten the people who had believed in her when she was just the maid's daughter. The billionaire, his mother, and, most importantly, the life-changing experience that had set her on this path. One day, after receiving a prestigious award for her work in the medical field, she stood on stage, the lights from the cameras flashing around her. As she accepted her award, she could hear her name being called, but in that moment, it felt like the world had stopped. She thought about the days when she had cleaned the mansion, when no one knew her name or paid her any attention. She thought about the billion-dollar mansion that had once been so intimidating and full of people who saw her as invisible. But that had all changed. The billionaire, standing in the back of the room, watched proudly. He had kept his promise, and now, She had surpassed all expectations. She had become a symbol of what could be accomplished with determination, kindness, and the belief in oneself. When she stepped off the stage, he approached her, his face filled with emotion. "I knew you had it in you," he said, his voice warm and full of pride. "You've done more than I ever imagined. You've proven that no matter where you come from, you can achieve greatness." She smiled, her heart full. "I couldn't have done it without you," she replied. "You gave me a chance when no one else would." The billionaire shook his head, his expression thoughtful. "It wasn't just me. It was your heart, your drive. You've always had that in you. I just gave you the opportunity to see it for yourself." She nodded, feeling a deep sense of gratitude. "I won't forget what you did for me," she said, her voice steady. "I'm going to keep using what I've learned to help others, just like you taught me." The billionaire smiled, his eyes sparkling with pride. "I have no doubt you will. You've already changed so many lives. Now, you'll change even more." The young woman continued her work, traveling to communities in need, offering free medical services, and spreading the message that everyone, no matter their background, deserves a chance to succeed. She became known for her ability to see potential in people who others had written off, helping them find their path just as she had found hers. Her story became a beacon of hope, a reminder that with faith, determination, and the right support, anything was possible. And as she stood at the forefront of her own success, she knew that the journey was far from over. Her work was just beginning, and she would continue to honor the lessons she had learned along the way, helping others, just as she had been helped, to find their own strength and purpose. As the years continued to pass, the young woman's life evolved into something that felt like a dream, but it was all her own doing. She had earned every moment of success she had attained. Now, a respected professional in her field, she had achieved far beyond what anyone had expected from her, most of all herself. She had gone from the daughter of a maid, someone who was once overlooked by society, to a leading voice in the medical community, traveling the world and offering her expertise to those in need. The billionaire, who had once simply given her a chance, had watched her transform into a symbol of hope and strength, his heart filled with pride each time he heard of her next accomplishment. But despite her rise in the world, she never lost sight of where she came from, nor the lessons that had shaped her. She made it a priority to mentor others, especially those who came from backgrounds similar to hers. She knew all too well what it felt like to be invisible, to feel as though no one believed in you. Now, she worked tirelessly to make sure no one else had to feel that way. She established scholarships for children from disadvantaged families, ensuring that they too could chase their dreams, just as she had. Her message was clear: no one's circumstances should define their future. It was this message that led her to a new chapter of her life. One evening, after returning from a charity event where she had been honored for her humanitarian work, she received a call that would forever change her life. The billionaire was on the line, his voice filled with emotion. "I have something to ask of you," he said, his words carrying a weight she had never heard before. "I need your help." She was taken aback. The billionaire, the man who had once given her everything, now needed something from her? "What is it?" she asked, her curiosity piqued. "I've built an empire," he began, "but I've lost sight of what really matters. I've always been focused on success, on achievement. But I realize now, too late, that I've neglected something more important. The people who helped me get here, the ones who worked in the shadows and never asked for anything. My mother's health deteriorated because of my neglect, and now I'm asking for your help to make things right." The woman listened intently, her heart swelling with a mixture of sadness and understanding. She had seen the billionaire's transformation, from a man driven by ambition to someone humbled by the lessons of his life. She could hear in his voice that this was a turning point for him. "I don't know how much I can do, but I'll do what I can," she said, her voice steady. "You've already helped me more than I could have ever imagined. Let me help you now." The billionaire's voice softened with gratitude. "Thank you. You have no idea how much this means to me. You taught me that there's more to life than wealth, and now, I need your guidance to lead in a way that reflects that." Over the following months, they worked together to create initiatives that would help others who had been overlooked and forgotten. Together, they focused on ensuring that no one, no matter their background or status, was left behind. The young woman's story had come full circle. She had gone from being the one who needed help to the one who was offering it. And in doing so, she had changed not only her life, but the lives of countless others. She knew that this was her true calling, to inspire, to lead, and to ensure that everyone, no matter their starting point, had a chance to rise. And as she looked back on everything she had accomplished, she realized that the journey was never just about her. It was about the lives she had touched, the people she had lifted up, and the world she had helped change. The months that followed were filled with relentless work, as the young woman and the billionaire forged an unexpected, yet powerful partnership. Together, they set out to rebuild what had been broken. They focused not only on revitalizing the billionaire's empire, but also on making sure that the world they created benefited those who had been left behind, just as the girl had once been. They established foundations, funded scholarships, and created medical outreach programs aimed at giving opportunities to those who had none. It wasn't just about making money anymore. It was about making a difference, creating a legacy of kindness and giving that would last for generations. The woman, once a shadow in the background, now stood at the forefront of their initiatives, her voice heard in boardrooms where decisions that would change lives were made. And with each new project, with each life they touched, the young woman felt a sense of purpose that was greater than any title or award. She had found her true calling, and it was far beyond just being a healer. It was about healing the world. One afternoon, after months of successful initiatives, the young woman was sitting in a small cafe near the mansion, sipping tea and reflecting on how far she had come. Her phone buzzed. It was a message from the billionaire. "I want you to lead our next project. It's time for you to take charge." She stared at the screen for a moment, unsure if she was ready for such a responsibility. But then, she remembered everything she had been through, the years of hardship, the lessons she had learned, the people who had believed in her. She had proven to herself, and to everyone else, that she was capable of achieving anything she set her mind to. So, without hesitation, she replied, "I'm ready." The next few months were a blur of meetings, planning, and intense work. They launched a project aimed at providing free healthcare services to underserved communities across the country. The young woman led the effort with the same determination that had carried her this far, and as the program began to take off, the results were nothing short of miraculous. Thousands of people, many of whom had never seen a doctor in their lives, received life-saving care. The program not only healed their bodies, but also gave them hope. The young woman, once again standing beside the billionaire, realized that this was what it was all about. This was the true power of giving back. One day, as the project grew and more lives were touched, the billionaire took her aside. "You've done it," he said, his voice filled with admiration. "You've changed the world." She looked at him, her eyes full of gratitude. "We've changed the world," she replied, her voice strong. "Together, we've shown that no one is too small to make a difference." The billionaire smiled, proud of everything they had accomplished, but even more proud of the woman who had taken what she had been given and turned it into something extraordinary. And as she looked around at the impact they had made, the young woman knew that her journey was far from over. She still had so much more to do, so many lives left to touch. But she was no longer just a girl who had been overlooked. She was someone who had learned to rise above, to help others rise with her, and to make the world a better place, one person at a time. As the years went on, the young woman's influence continued to grow. Her work had touched countless lives, and her efforts had led to the expansion of the medical programs she had started. More communities had access to health care than ever before, and her reputation as a compassionate and capable leader spread far and wide. But despite her success, she always remained grounded. The billionaire, who had been by her side since the beginning, watched with pride as she continued to take the world by storm. He had witnessed her transformation from a shy, uncertain girl to a powerful, confident woman who now had the world's attention. One day, as they sat in the office together, discussing the next phase of their project, the billionaire turned to her with a thoughtful expression. "You've come so far," he said, his voice sincere. "But I think it's time for you to take the next step." The young woman raised an eyebrow, unsure of what he meant. "What do you mean?" she asked. The billionaire leaned forward, a serious look in his eyes. "I think you're ready to run your own foundation, to take full control of the initiatives you've created. You've learned everything you can from me. Now, it's time for you to take what you've built and make it your own." The woman's heart skipped a beat. She had always known that she was meant to do more, but the thought of leading her own foundation was overwhelming. Still, she could feel the fire inside her. This was the next chapter, the next challenge. "I'm ready," she said, her voice steady and filled with conviction. In the weeks that followed, the young woman took the reins of her own foundation. She was no longer just a part of someone else's vision. She was now the driving force behind the change. She poured her heart into every project, knowing that each one had the potential to change lives. But as the foundation grew, so did the challenges. She faced opposition from people who didn't believe in her vision, who thought she was too young, too inexperienced. There were moments of doubt, moments when the weight of responsibility felt too heavy to bear. But in those moments, she remembered the lessons she had learned, that no one, no matter where they came from, was too small to make a difference. She had proven that to herself and to the world. As the months went by, the foundation flourished. The young woman's leadership was undeniable. She had become a beacon of hope, not just for those she helped, but for those who saw her story and realized that they, too, could achieve the impossible. One day, as she stood at the podium at a major charity gala, speaking to an audience of influential people, the billionaire approached her. He was watching from the back of the room, a proud smile on his face. After her speech, he walked up to her and placed a hand on her shoulder. "You've done it," he said quietly. "You've built something incredible, and it's all because of your heart, your determination, and your belief in others." The young woman smiled, her eyes full of emotion. "No," she replied softly. "It's because you believed in me when no one else did. You gave me a chance to prove myself, and that made all the difference." And as she looked around at the sea of people whose lives had been touched by her work, she knew that this was only the beginning. There was so much more to do, so many more people to help, and so many more lives to change. She was no longer the girl who had been overlooked. She was a leader, a beacon of hope, and a symbol of what could be achieved when someone truly believed in you. As the years passed, the young woman's influence grew even further. Her foundation was now a global powerhouse, making an incredible impact on the lives of millions. She had become an icon of hope, showing the world that no matter where you come from, you can achieve greatness. Her story, the story of a girl who was once invisible, had touched the hearts of so many people. And yet, despite all the accolades, the awards, and the recognition, she had remained grounded. The billionaire, who had watched her rise from nothing, remained by her side, a constant support. He had always known that she was destined for greatness, but seeing her now, with so many lives changed because of her, filled him with an overwhelming sense of pride. One afternoon, as they sat together in the same room where it all began, the billionaire turned to her with a contemplative expression. "You've built something incredible," he said, his voice full of admiration. "I've seen so many lives change because of you. You've turned everything I helped you with into something that's going to outlast all of us." She smiled softly, her heart full. "I couldn't have done it without you," she replied, her voice steady. "You gave me the chance when no one else would. And now, I'm doing the same for others." The billionaire nodded, his eyes filled with pride. "You've created something that will continue to grow, something that will make the world a better place for generations to come. I always knew you had it in you, but you've gone far beyond what I could have ever imagined." The young woman looked out the window, her thoughts drifting. She had come so far, from being the overlooked daughter of a maid to someone whose work was changing the world. But she knew the journey wasn't over. There was still so much left to do, so many lives left to touch. The world was full of people who needed help, and she wasn't going to stop until she had done everything she could to make a difference. "This is just the beginning," she said, her voice filled with determination. "There's so much more to do. I have a lifetime of work ahead of me." The billionaire smiled, his eyes twinkling with approval. "I know," he said, his voice full of warmth. "And I'll be right here, supporting you every step of the way." As they stood up, the young woman felt a wave of gratitude wash over her. She had been given a gift, the gift of a chance, the chance to prove herself, to help others, and to make a difference in the world. And she had done it. She had not only helped herself rise, but had lifted countless others along the way. The billionaire had given her the foundation she needed, and together, they had built something that would last forever. But she knew, deep in her heart, that the true legacy wasn't just in the work she had done. It was in the people she had inspired to believe in themselves, to reach for their dreams, and to know that they, too, could change the world. And as she looked forward to the future, she knew that no matter what challenges lay ahead, she was ready. She had come so far, and she wasn't stopping now.